Bing, bing, bing. Bruce Wolf and Sean Thompson in for Dan and Amy. So, Sean, I've been looking for ways to destroy James Comey's credibility, and it's not that easy because he looks like the straight shooter. He's like the incarnation of...
Got a side part?
Well, he looks better than Efren Zimbalist Jr. did as the head of the FBI, and it's going to come down to a he said between him and Trump, and, Trump has got his reputation precedes him. I think the evidence is already coming in. Just a few hours ago, we found out that Comey hid in the White House drapes, which were blue and blended with his blue sports jacket, because he didn't want to be close to Trump in some photo op. So that's already a weirdo kind of thing.
I wish it would have been those gold curtains, because it would have made him a 7-foot Liberace in a gold suit.
So here's the thing, and Comey said that he was disgusted, apparently, having met Donald Trump. So already we know that Comey was prejudiced against Trump when he had the so-called obstruction of justice meeting, but we need more than that. And fortunately, we have another Sean. Sean Davis, the co-founder of The Federalist, Federalist.com, joins us. If you want to read this article, read along with Sean, who's going to give us in his best truncated form this story. A former Bush AG on Comey's 2007 brush with scandal. Jim's loyalty was more to Chuck Schumer. Go to thefederalist.com there. Sean Davis, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So, in a nutshell, there was this moment in 2004 when John Ashcroft is in his hospital bed, and Jim Comey, justifiably, I guess, he becomes the acting attorney general because he was the deputy attorney general at the time. But it almost seems like an Alexander Haig moment where he says he's in charge and doesn't notify the White House in the proper way, and has a story that really is contradicted in some significant aspects by Alberto Gonzales. And this will go to show that, Comey doesn't necessarily tell stories exactly the way they occurred. But can you pick up the narrative from there?
Right. So what we're seeing right now in 2017 is actually a shot-for-shot remake of the script that Comey and his friends ran in 2007 when they tried to get rid of Bush's Attorney General, Alberto Gonzales. And what they did is Comey went to testify before Chuck Schumer in the Senate and said that in this fateful meeting in a hospital room where the Bush White House was trying to get the DOJ to sign off on a really important surveillance program to track terrorist threats, according to Comey, Gonzales and Andy Card, Bush's chief of staff, went into a hospital room where Ashcroft was recovering from, I think, gallbladder surgery. And they took advantage of this extremely ill man on his deathbed who was incoherent. They tried to force him to sign a document he didn't understand. But thankfully, Jim Comey, the last honest man, was there to stop it. He was there to prevent this miscarriage of justice. The only problem with this Comey narrative is that it contradicts with what Gonzales himself testified and wrote about at length in his book. And Comey's account is actually inconsistent even with itself. Which, if it sounds familiar, it's because it is.
Well, and here's, I found it illustrative because Comey, on the one hand, says that Ashcroft is incoherent. On the other hand, he says that Ashcroft is able to, and I don't know the exact words, give like a rich and substantial detail description of this law. So how does a guy who's on his deathbed manage to be so coherent? That's one thing. And the other thing was a particular moment, according to Comey, Ashcroft cannot give an opinion on this and cannot make the decision because already Comey is the acting attorney general. So he points to Gonzales. He says to Gonzales, I can't make the decision. There's your attorney general, and points to Comey. But according to Gonzales, Comey wasn't even near the bedside when Ashcroft said that I can't make the decision. This reminds me of the TV show The Affair, where the male and the female give you two completely different stories, and you don't know what to believe.
Well, it's fascinating. So in Gonzalez's telling of it, it was a darkened hospital room. He and Card go in to speak with Ashcroft, who the president had just spoken to. And they don't see anyone. They see some kind of people, trying to blend in the corner of the room in the dark recesses of it. And they assume it's Ashcroft's security detail who are taught how to blend in and not be noticed. And so a lot of people are saying, well, that's ridiculous. How could Gonzales and Card not see this guy there? And then we hear the story of Comey trying to blend into the drapes in the White House. So this idea of a 6'8" guy, not being seen in the hospital room, which according to Gonzales, he never was. He never made his presence known. He never spoke up. He was never referenced. and then we find out Comey tried to do the exact same thing in the White House to avoid Trump. It's amazing. Like I said, it is a shot-for-shot replay of the game that Comey and his friends Preet Bharara and Jack Goldsmith tried to play in 2007 against Gonzalez. Shot for shot.
You know, Sean, I'm a big fan of your website. I like it very much. And I really think the only way that we really change things in the future is through sites like yours. So rather than talk about this specific thing, I'd like to talk about having a segment on your website where we inform people that virtue is not something we should give to jobs, but we should give it to men. And we could start with your first column being on this, because the problem I have with all of this nonsense is we are supposed to submit to virtue of an FBI head. And I don't like any of it. And I'm curious to know, how often do you see this in every job? I still don't know why we put honorable after senators until they prove themselves to be. Do you?
I love that. I think there's an old Mark Twain saying, suppose you're an idiot. Now suppose you're a member of Congress. But I repeat myself.
I love it.
I like to apply that to everyone in government. You know, prove to me you're not an idiot. But I totally welcome you. Pitch us with pieces. We'd like to see stuff like that.
We do a whole segment. You have me come on and yell at people. I think it's a big winner here.
Yeah, I want to see more Julie Kelly pieces. Okay, all right. I want to see more. I want you to call her up and put her, have her write more about a variety of topics. Sean Davis, thanks so much for joining us. We love the website. It's
Federalist.com.
Yeah, thank you, Sean Davis from the Federalist.com. All right,
it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And when we come back, we got phone calls, 312-642-5600 on the Turnkey.pro answer line, 312-642-5600. I'm going to call it like an open mic Friday.
Yeah,
I
let's
just
do
came
it.
up with that myself.